my favorite films.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to My Favourite Films, the show where we talk about not just films I love, but films that sometimes this guy loves as well.
That's the one.
I'm Joe.
I'm Peter.
And today, well, you've seen the title, I presume, we are going to talk about Captain America Civil War!
Which, incidentally, is kind of like a biased name straight out. I mean, it's Captain America's views versus Iron Man's views. Make up your own mind, you know. Each has viable points, but it kind of influences it when you've only got one of their names in the title.
We might well get into that later, but first and foremost...
But we'll return back to it, maybe.
Captain America Civil War is directed by Anthony and Joe Russo. They also directed Captain America the Winter Soldier, which is another fantastic favourite film of mine. And Captain America Civil War stars Chris Evans,
Robert Downey Jr.,
Anthony Mackie,
Scarlett Johansson,
Sebastian Stan, Daniel Bruhl, Paul Rudd, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, Chadwick Boseman. I'm stumbling on names now. I think I'm missing someone vital.
Look, I want to say, I know you know a lot of super people, so thanks for thanking of me.
Oh, and of course, Tom Holland as Spider-Man, Peter Parker. We'll also get onto him. I will say, before we even get started, spoiler!
Oh yeah, loads of spoilers.
This is the best film I've seen so far this year. If you do go see it, or you have seen it, and you're not making a video like the one we're making now, be kind. Don't spoil it for people. Keep some of the magic alive. Now, on with the film.
Captain, while a great many people see you as a hero, there are some who'd prefer the word vigilante. You've operated with unlimited power and no supervision. That's something the world can no longer tolerate.
As this is my favourite films, it would be remiss of us not to talk about our favourite parts of Civil War. Where should we start, Peter?
I'm thinking favourite parts as in, individual scenes, the airport scene with, the clash between the two sides, which could so easily have been, haphazard because they've all got their, unique strengths and abilities, and it would be so easy just to go too ham and try too hard with it. Mm-hmm. But they managed to undercut it with two distinct methods. The first being humour. Not too much to make it just a comedy scene, but really enough to just make you laugh and enjoy it. None of them really want to kill each other.
We're still friends, right?
Depends on how hard you hit me.
They're all using their powers and they're all interacting, and it's great and it's fun and it's awesome. But in a setting where the objective is not to kill, it's to restrain. And as such, it becomes far more interesting.
What it amounts to is the logical conclusion of this deep personal conflict, giving us what we all want, but for such good reasons. Hands down, for me, the most outstanding action sequence I've seen in any superhero movie ever.
Off the top of my head, I would certainly say one of the best.
Exactly. Taking it as its own thing, it is all of what Peter was saying. It is fast, it is fun, it is hilarious at exactly the right times, and you're also seeing things we've never seen before. For example, and as we said, spoiler, Ant-Man becomes gigantic Ant-Man. It is phenomenal. He's grabbing War Machine and Iron Man and making sure they can't fly, and throwing them in.
Spider-Man thinks of his favourite film. You see?
No.
Things back together.
He doesn't even say it's his favourite.
He thinks of his favourite film.
One of mine. That really old movie. Because in Civil War, Tom Holland, playing Peter Parker, is a teenager, contemporary teenager.
Of course. So you got to think, if you're thinking of what a contemporary teenager might consider an old film, possibly took place a long time ago, possibly in, somewhere far away.
Yes. The Empire Strikes Back. That's what Spider-Man does, and
he does.
It's glorious.
It is. It's wonderful.
But that is
poor old Ant-Man.
That is one of our favourite moments.
You flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, pretty much. That is one of our favourite moments in a fight filled with absolutely astounding interactions and scenes. Yeah. For example, the dynamic between the Winter Soldier and Falcon.
Or just the human element.
The human element, yes.
It wasn't just superheroes, boom, boom, I can control things with my mind. But I can fire missiles. But I got a really cool shield. It wasn't just that. It was, you saw
personal conflict.
Between a brilliant example, Scarlett Johansson. What's her name? Black Widow. We'll call it a special relationship Widow and the Cap have. She feels that she's betraying him, but at the same time, she's got to stand for what she's doing in the same way that she respects him for doing what he feels he has to do. In the same way that she allies herself with what Iron Man thinks he should do. And so when you've got the moment that she turns and she attacks the Black Panther in order to let the Cap escape, it's just really well done. I was going for something more eloquent.
Every character in Civil War has their own reasons for siding with Captain America or Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. They each understand what's going on with them being asked to, in Cap's eyes, surrender their freedom, and in Tony's eyes, make compromises and be accountable for the destruction that they've caused in Sokovia, New York, and in Civil War, we see in the opening sequence, Nigeria.
You may hate me, but I support the idea of compromise, not saying, no, you're wrong, I'm going to stick to my guns and do whatever I want. The captain is a great guy, lovely. But I'm much more on the idea that and that's great. Anyway, rant over, back to you.
However, one thing, despite my t-shirt, I am Team Cap, one thing that we can both agree on is how excellent the film was in showing both sides of the conflict.
Yes, no, I'll give you that. They're both very... It isn't, as it very easily could have been, where you've got the two sides, but the film is telling you that one of the sides is right and the other one's wrong. And Captain America Civil War clearly shows no bias.
No, but really, although this is wholeheartedly the third film in the Captain America trilogy,
sure.
It does a fantastic job of being that film because Steve Rogers is really the audience POV. You may side with Tony Stark, but we're watching it all happen through his eyes and following his journey with the events that occur. It's almost like this is Avengers 3 because we have so many characters introduced.
But that's good. Because so many of the other Marvel kind of universe films, you're thinking, okay, so the world's under this bigger crisis and none of the other superheroes think, might give them a hand.
The film stays focused on the characters we do have in play and characters we have cared about for 8 years now, going from the first Iron Man film. Both before and after this fucking fantastic airport fight sequence, you're presented with quite dour and somber scenes, serious scenes, where these characters realise they're going to have to take a side. It's not going to be a happy ending.
Yeah. But it's a roller coaster. You've got a brilliant kind of up and down, you one moment you're laughing and the next you're on the edge of your seats. It's not just an action film, it's not just a comedy, it's not just a drama, because there are quite a few dramatic moments. And
more dramatic
hot and steamy moments. Aunt May, Tony Stark, bit of a spoiler, but...
No, not even that.
Yes.
Let's talk about Spider-Man's introduction, because we need to.
Oh, that was great. It's at the start of his superhero career.
He's had the powers for 6 months,
yeah.
And we cut to Tony Stark going to Queens in New York City, essentially chatting up Aunt May, so he can... Well, it's Tony Stark.
It's not essentially about it. They slip together.
And confronting Peter Parker because, of course, Tony Stark knows that he's Spider-Man. But he doesn't know he's Spider-Man. Spider-Boy, Spider-Guy.
Spider-Kid.
Spider-Kid.
Bit of a sticky situation.
And it's so charming and fun which is, I think, something that gets lost in a lot of other superhero movies these days.
Yes.
And even though Captain America Civil War, I saw it twice. You've still only seen it once, haven't you?
Indeed.
The second time around, those somber, serious moments really hit home. There's humour for days when it's necessary. But for the most part, Anthony and Joe Russo, the directors, are committed to telling a serious story about the consequences of these fantastic people who have powers that may or may not need to be kept in check.
You think you know the motivations of the villain, and you're like, well, yep, he's gonna create the evil Russian Avengers, which in itself, it would have been cool. I was kind of hoping for that.
You find out there was more than one Winter Soldier.
Everything comes together in the end that is, it's sublime.
And it doesn't feel contrived.
No, it doesn't. But you've got, up until then, perhaps you feel, they built it up to too much, the whole Iron Man, Captain America, they could probably shake hands and get over it, and then...
The gut punch.
The bombshell, the gut punch, that video where you just see it and it's not rational anymore, it's pure, it's emotional, it's raw, it's...
brutal.
Amazing.
Because the film's opening scene, the Winter Soldier is tasked with stealing super soldier serum to create more Winter Soldiers, as we find out later, and this super soldier serum is in a car, and he kills both the drivers. We don't know who they are at the beginning of the film, and as we come towards the third and final act, we discover that it was Howard Stark and his wife who were killed, and this surveillance video is shown to Captain America, the Winter Soldier, or no longer Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, and Tony himself.
A man that he thought was his friend knew that his parents had been killed this whole time.
With this reveal, we see Tony Stark lose it like we never thought we would, and he goes for Bucky in the most intense way possible. Juxtaposed with the huge, quite literally with Ant-Man, airport fight scene where there's quipping and fun moments of interaction between the characters. You're taken down to the final three, the people who the movie is about. Two best friends and a former friend.
An orphan with a big suit and lots of money, who's got just, he's carrying around this trauma. And that moment at the end, where Iron Man has had his core shattered, and he's lying there, and he hasn't given up in terms of how he feels, but he's realised that there's nothing more he can physically do. And he turns around, and just the emotion in his voice when he says, "You don't deserve that shield. My father made that shield. You don't deserve it." It's
indescribable.
So filled with emotion that it's, as you say, so completely starkly different to the airport, which was awesome but light, and this was awesome and intense.
The craziest part is that's not even the end of the film. Civil War does what so many comic book films before have tried and failed to do, and fits in more characters than we've ever had in a superhero film before.
More superpowered characters.
More superpowered characters than we've ever had in a superhero film before, and does them all justice. You have little moments like the development and beginnings of a relationship between Vision and Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch. Being faithful to comic books in comic book movies is amazing when it serves the story, and this does because we find out that, well, Vision isn't perfect or necessarily as all-powerful as we've believed him to be up to this point.
Gets wrecked by Scarlet Witch.
Like humans, Vision has the ability
to
empathise and therefore make mistakes because of his emotions.
Yes.
Another fine example of a new element being introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Chadwick Boseman as the King of Wakanda, Black Panther. Bam!
Really, really well done. Introducing him at the summit where the Avengers are supposed to sign this document.
The Sokovia Accords.
That's the one. And you see the king, and he's proud of his sons.
At this point, the Prince of Wakanda.
You get a really kind of human moment.
In such a swift and careful manner, an emotional bond is established between this father and son we've never met before. And then tragedy strikes, and the prince's father, the King of Wakanda, is killed at this summit. Supposedly at the hands of Bucky Barnes, or Winter Soldier, whom we later find out is not him, framing plot details. Doesn't matter, because that's his motivation for being on Tony Stark's side. The introduction of the most badass character we've seen in the Marvel Universe to date.
I'd certainly say he's plenty badass.
And once again, you understand his motivation.
Yeah.
It's clear from the outset, and whether you agree with him going after the Winter Soldier or not, you're excited to see where it goes. Captain America Civil War delivers on every conceivable level.
Yes. Well, I would say it was, all in all, a really, really good film. One of my favourite cinegraphic. Yeah, that's It's a great film. It's one of my favourite films. A brilliant film. A film to be seen.
A film to be seen with a big
A
crowd.
film with scenes to be seen.
Get your friends together. Go this weekend and any other day of the week you can. It's one of my favourites too. That's it for Civil War.
Oh, and subscribe.
However, that is not the end of this video. There's a giveaway we've got to deal with.
We do.
We do indeed.
A lovely giveaway.
Lootcrate.
He's giving it away.
We have 2 of these to give away. 2 of these. That's the one that opens. So open that up and let's show the lovely people at home. Shall I open it up? Hey! We did this in detail, but we'll quickly go through it. There's a cool t-shirt. There is a reversible hat, which Peter's going to put on. The 2 boxes, by the way, t-shirt is, one of them's medium, and the other one in this box, unopened at the moment, is large. You've got a booklet, which tells you everything about the crate that's in it, and some other cool stuff.
We have the wonderful, tiny, cute Destroyer of Worlds.
An Alien vs Predator Titans vinyl figure, which will randomly be either Predator, as you can see here, or Alien. Pretty fucking cool.
Oh yeah, and as you can see with the Alien Predator.
The theme for this Loot Crate was versus. You've got a Loot Crate pin here, Alien vs Predator, reversible Daredevil Punisher hat. We won't keep it like that. We also have a recyclable, kind of papery Batman v Superman wallet.
Forgive the continuity errors. The camera died for a bit. Unfortunate, but get over it. Let's move on.
Last but by no means least, Loot Crate exclusive Harley Quinn comic. And it is a one-shot, so you don't need to have read anything previous. It will get you hyped for
Suicide Squad, which is out later in the year.
Later this summer, yes indeed.
It's going to be awesome.
It all comes in this cool box, which you can even unfold and then use as shelving if you mount it on your wall correctly. Like, people do that.
We're selling the box too far. Like, the contents of the box are great, but I don't think that the box is what people will enter the competition for.
You
I
want
may have
to
judged
win.
too prematurely. For all of you box aficionados out there.
For the box trolls out there.
Oh, I see. So the people who like boxes are trolls. That's terrible.
If you want to win, you need to share this video first. Share the video and comment with either your favourite comic book film. Hold those for me, sir. Thank you kindly. Peter disagrees with Age of Ultron. I like it. It's a great film.
It wasn't a bad film if you compare it to something like Batman vs Superman, but you can't compare it to the original Iron Man at all.
Or your favourite comic book. Tell us why you love your favourite comic book film or your favourite comic book, and you are in with a chance of winning either of these awesome Loot Crates. Tell us what your favourite comic book film or comic book is and why. Share the video. Those are the 2 entry criteria. I'll pick a winner as soon as you lovely people throw in some entries. Give it a week.
It won't take very long, and, you know, you'll get the endorphin high for having done something cool. And if you might think, well, it's not worth my time, then what's wrong with you?
And also, if everyone's thinking like that, then you have more of a chance of winning.
Exactly.
There's no reason not to do it.
And every reason to do it.
With all that said, thanks for watching.
Toodles!
And we'll see you next time.
Catch your hand.
Sorry, Tommy. You know I wouldn't do this if I had any other choice. But he's my friend. So was I.
Stay down. Final warning.
I could do this all day.
And he's got a really fucking cool lair.
Yeah, the post-credit stingers where we see where the King of Wakanda lives in Wakanda, Nigeria, Africa. Fudge.
Racist.
But it's in somewhere. Wakanda is in Africa. It's a fictional country, anyways.
Okay. Fictional xenophobe.
These heroes can do incredible things, but at the heart of civil... Yeah.
One of them, shoots arrows. It's cool.
This is true, it's true. But he's really good with arrows.
He is good with arrows.
Exceedingly proficient.
It's a shame when, someone, not mentioning names, but he's big and he's got a magic stone on his forehead, snaps his bow. That takes away some of the wonder.
Little bit. However, as I was saying...